Alex Moeller with Andretti. Things go fast where they are, and we're glad that he's here sharing some innovation and all that good stuff that's taking place at Andretti. Welcome to the stage, Alex.
Thanks everybody for having me. Alex Moeller here with Andretti Global. Want to thank the Battery Innovation Center, congratulate you all on 10 years. That's pretty amazing, but certainly thank what Ben has built here over the years, Les, the team, Heather, Elizabeth, Teresa, but thanks for having me. So I think we all agree less is more. But I think we're going to kick off with a quick video about Formula E, now in its 10th season, all-electric open-wheel series that we compete in, and we've been there since the beginning.
It has all the looks and feels of auto racing,
There's contact. Heidfeld's in the wall.
but not the sounds. This is Formula E, E as in electric. Among the 11 teams competing at the Portland, Oregon E-Prix, a legendary name in auto racing, Andretti Autosports. IndyCar champion Michael Andretti is CEO.
What's the attraction for you with Formula E?
What attracted me to it was the new technology. You know, racing is at the forefront of the technology, so we're seeing stuff that you're probably going to see in your road cars one day.
On the track this year, the Gen 3, billed as the fastest, most sustainable e-car yet. Alessandra Ciliberti is the technical manager.
So do you have two motors in this car?
Exactly.
Enabling drivers to recharge the car through braking. Energy now captured from all four wheels.
We're not losing the energy, we're just storing that back into the battery for propelling the car.
Gone are the days when they had to switch cars in the middle of the race because the battery didn't last. Now the battery goes the whole race, some 53 minutes, at speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. Jake Dennis drives for Andretti.
Do you miss the sound of traditional racing?
No, you enjoy it. You enjoy having the peace and quiet, honestly. There's no noise, no vibration, super smooth. It's like a pleasure to drive one of these. You just hear the wind.
There are no gears and ideally no pit stops. Michael Andretti took me for a ride.
What should I expect?
I don't know. I never drove one around here.
I'm feeling real good about this.
We'll learn together. I need a few more laps.
I think you did pretty well for your first time.
Okay.
But there's an even more important competition going on here, the race to sustainability. And everyone, from the owners to the vendors to the fans, can win.
Julia Paulet drives this effort. The car's electricity is generated from renewable energy.
Actually, this renewable energy here is coming from basically the waste cooking oils from your French fries that is turned into a biofuel that is called HVO.
A sport that CEO Jeff Dodds says is also a learning opportunity for fans.
They're seeing amazing racing brands, so they're seeing elite sport, but they're also seeing a platform to talk about sustainability.
To drive us into the future.
Thought that was a good intro for our Formula E platform, again now in its 10th year. I always like to start these things by a quote that I think we live by at Andretti, but everybody in this room I think can understand this from Mario years ago. If everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. So every day we get up, we go in at Andretti Global. We have 7 racing series basically where we compete globally. Everyone knows the IndyCar piece of our history. We're about 22 years old. Michael Andretti is the majority owner of Andretti Global, Andretti IndyCar, where we compete with 3 entries. Current points leader, Colton Herta, by the way. We have 14 races to go this season. Formula E, which is very important to our success and our Andretti brand globally. It's now the 10th year of Formula E. We're the drivers' world champions last year with Jake Dennis, who you saw in the video. Just got through an event in Monaco just weeks before the Formula One race in Monaco coming up on the same day as the 108th Indy 500. We're in Australia with Australia's Supercars, Indy Next, which is the feeder series to IndyCar. IMSA have a big investment in Wayne Taylor Racing. We have a 2-car GTP program with Acura, Honda, HRC. And then Extreme E, which is going to be Extreme H, so off-road electric racing in climate-affected parts of the world with a male-female driver component, and excitingly going to be Extreme H in 2025. So we're going to go hydrogen racing next year. Bit of history of Formula E and where it was and where it is now. So back in 2013, it was really the brainchild of Alejandro Agag and the former head of the FIA, Jean Todt, who is famous for leading Ferrari's World Championship years with Michael Schumacher. But it was time for them to jump in, talk about the efficiency of electric racing, focus on bringing costs down. If they're going to start a brand new racing championship that is endorsed by the FIA, you want it to survive. So keynotes to focus on sustainability, the relevant technology development to lure the OEMs in, has to be entertaining. These are city street circuits globally, and that was the idea, how to bring the future of electromobility to the people. You had to add it. We had to add Formula E into the existing motorsport calendar, which there's a couple dozen racing series around the world that compete, and this was going to be on a global stage. So they actually started off the traditional calendar. They would start in November, December, and run through early spring. And again, as I mentioned, it was bringing electromobility to the people, so city street circuits all over the world. As it showed in the video, the first 4 years, the first generation of Formula E, the battery couldn't survive. They couldn't go a full race, which is about 50 to 55 minutes or so, depending on extra time. So our pit stop was actually the driver coming in halfway through the race, jumping out of the first car and finishing with the second. It was mandatory just because of performance. It was a tough time for OEMs to really jump in because the fear was range anxiety and really jumping in to support a series where halfway through the race you really can't make it to the end. You can tell the efficiency wasn't really there. We were traveling 4 race cars to every race. So the efficiencies of the platform was a bit challenging, but they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to wait till 2018 or 2019. So they got it going. In 2014 was the inaugural season, and Andretti is now the longest serving team in the championship. We've been in since day one. Gen 2 came along, so that was basically years 2017 through 2021 or so. Only one car was needed at that point. The speed was a bit better. Top speed here at this point is about 160 to 165. So the battery technology had advanced. It was a much lighter car. At the time, we became the BMW factory effort. You saw Mercedes jump in, and Audi. Jaguar has been an OEM there for a long time. Nissan's involved, Mahindra, DS Automobiles, Stellantis, Maserati. But the bodywork was futuristic. We wanted these to differentiate themselves in the market from a lot of the other racing series around the world and other open wheel series. Very highly competitive. I think there was one year we went into the final race where we were one of 7 teams that could have won the world championship at the time. And I think 18 of the 24 drivers had a chance in the final weekend. So, what's interesting about Formula E, it's a spec series. It's the same chassis, it's the same battery. The battery is closed. It's really just the motor, the powertrain, the inverter. That's the only pieces of these cars that really can get developed. So during Gen 2, for those 4 years, the cars were still not fast enough to really compete against F1, IndyCar, or Le Mans prototypes. The costs were starting to increase, even though we didn't have to travel 4 cars now. But to try to keep up and keep the development going on the OEM side, those costs started to grow quite a bit. And then, as you can imagine, with city street circuit events, when COVID hit, it was almost a miracle that the championship could continue. A lot of closed paddocks, closed venues, and for a series that's, racing in urban street centers, that was pretty surreal. But moving on from that, we're now in Gen 3, so we're getting through the second year of Generation 3 in Formula E. It's the most technically advanced car so far. The weight has gone down a bit. The car is capable of regenerating 40% of the energy through the race. So we start our race and we do not have enough power to finish. It has to be regenerated throughout the event. It's still unpredictable. We're now a Porsche customer team. There's a Porsche factory effort, and then we invest in the Porsche powertrain. They've explored doing fast charging pit stops. That hasn't yet been adopted. There's still a lot more testing that needs to be done. Broadcast is up. We're approaching 400 million television viewers each season. And there's only more to come. We just released, and it was too late for this presentation, but the Gen 3.5 car has some bodywork updates and some other things aerodynamically that should help with some top speeds. What's interesting is our tires are still treaded. We want to show the performance of EV-powered cars with regular road tires. So at some point, the transition is going to happen here to much bigger circuits. We're going to move away. I think that you're starting to see that with our calendar, moving away from strictly city street circuits to actual permanent racetracks. But just came from Monaco. We go to Berlin, Germany. We're going to go to the F1 track in Shanghai, which they just had the F1 race there a couple of weeks ago. Our current U.S. venue is in Portland. So we race Indy cars in Portland in September, but a couple months prior, that's kind of a placeholder right now for Formula E until we can get back to whether it's New York City or LA or a major metropolitan area. And then our finale takes place in London. So, you know, what's to come? It's Gen 3.5, Gen 4 comes up in a couple of years, just trying to go faster, longer, be more sustainable. Even in the tire construction, the car construction, recycled carbon fiber, things of that nature, they're exploring more cost-controlled, improved connectivity with software, just maximizing battery power and efficiency, and just smarter overall. So it's an exciting place to participate, and I think the real goal for us as Andretti and the real theme is that this is a key part of our racing portfolio. This isn't just another series that Andretti has its name on. It was a big deal to win the World Championship last year with Jake. That's our goal this year. We're third in points right now with him. And I just thought I'd throw in a couple of slides of how exciting that was last year to not be a factory effort, be a customer effort, and win the championship. Already had some success this year. We won a race in Riyadh and then had a podium in Tokyo. The first Tokyo E-Prix was just a few weeks ago. But, you know, it's key. It's important to understand this is not just Andretti, but it's also talent, technology. The state of Indiana is behind this effort. Partnership with the IEDC, Indiana for the Bold. This is the place to be. It's a great incubator. It's a great talent hub. We love that Indiana is our home, and excited to be with you all today. Congrats again, and thanks for having me.